I'm going to start by sharing with you a conversation between my mom and I that took place a couple weeks after the women's retreat, which was held back at the beginning of September. My mom said, "Lily, have you ever thought of doing a testimony?" Why? Because I think it would be nice if some of the ladies from the retreat gave a testimony and you came back on fire for Jesus. Okay. I responded with, "Me and Jesus will talk about it," while thinking the whole time that my mom is crazy and Jesus and I were not going to talk about it. A couple more weeks passed, and it had crossed my mind multiple times until in my heart, I knew he was telling me I needed to do it. I wouldn't say that I grew up in the church, but I would say that I finished growing up in the church. Between the ages of 1 and 11, we went to church off and on until about 10 years ago, around the time that my mom became the administrative assistant. My parents dove into the Word of God and got incredibly involved in the church. We started going to church every Sunday, and it planted roots in me. Seeing how Jesus changed my parents, I knew that I needed to have a relationship with him too. After realizing this and being to a few different church camps, I decided to be baptized. 3 years later, at the Lakeside baptism, I was. Now, it has been a little over 7 years since I was baptized, but I feel like I was too young and naive back then. When registration opened up for the women's retreat, I saw this as the perfect opportunity to have a weekend away from the responsibility of crying children. I told my mom right away that I wanted to go. What I had yet to realize was that I would be changed and come back a different person than who I left as. I don't know what it looks like from your perspective, but I can feel that there has been a change in me since us ladies have been back from the retreat. Before the women's retreat, Women of Worship held an ice cream social. At that event, we did an activity with this poster. Is it up there? Okay. Where was I? The roses were to represent the stages of spiritual growth, and the point of the activity was to tell the group what stage you think you're at and why. I picked the rose in the middle because I thought that besides the regular church service, teaching in Sunday school and helping in the youth group was enough. This was far from the truth. When we stopped in front of the hotel where the retreat was being held, I was so pumped, until I popped open the trunk. Lo and behold, my bag was not in there. Everything I had packed for the entire weekend was still at home, sitting on the chair in the living room. I was so annoyed at this inconvenience. I was almost fuming. I was so sure that this was the worst thing that could happen, but my mom kept telling me that it wasn't the end of the world and that I shouldn't let it affect the trip. So I tried to just forget about it. As it turned out, my mom and I had both left something behind, or my mom had left something behind as well, so I felt a little bit better. We had both planned on bringing our laptops so we could work on stuff, but God had other plans. We shifted our focus on him and the lessons that were being taught. We even stayed up late to do the homework we were given. We ended up having the best time, and I'm sure we both got a lot out of it. When I came back from the retreat, I realized I needed more. I had a craving for Jesus that we should always have. I like what Bishop Ron says: if you only rely on church on Sundays to feed your soul, you're going to starve to death. The Snickers slogan is, "You're not you when you're hungry." Whatever the Christian equivalent of a Snickers bar is, that is what I needed. I was spiritually hungry, so I wasn't living up to my full potential as a Christian and as a member of this church. I wasn't being the Christian I could be while I was starving. I started to involve myself in multiple things, and between Bishop Ron's book study, women's Bible study, Celebrate Recovery, youth group, and Fifth Sundays in children's church, I am no longer on the verge of spiritual starvation. My soul has been fed and will continue to feast as long as I walk this earth. One of my notes from the retreat was, give Jesus enough time to get to know him. That was my problem. I wasn't giving Jesus nearly enough of my time, and he showed me how hungry my soul was. If you want to feed your soul, then utilize those green cards. Get involved. You may not think about it, but there are needs in the church. Children's church needs help. The youth group needs help. You may just be who they're looking for to fill an important role. After coming back from the retreat, I feel it in my heart to be baptized again. My bond with Jesus is greater now than it was all those years ago, and I better understand the relationship between myself and him. There are many lessons to get out of my testimony, but if I can leave you with anything, it is this. Don't make the same mistake that I did. Don't starve your soul.